Now, since I had it set up, I'd figure I'd go over how exactly you go by using that Allen wrench tool. As you can see, I have a zip tied. You level it off at the bottom of the swash plate, or the blue portion where it lines up with that, and it sits exactly 90 degrees out. As you can see, my swash plate here, it's directly out from the shaft. It's not sitting on the side. It's directly out. Alright, so what you do is you just go ahead and put it over one of your highest ones. You find which one's your highest, and looks like my pitch servo is going to be my highest. And what you do is you adjust up to your highest one. So you just go ahead and pull that over to your highest one, line it up so that it touches the Allen tool, and then you replicate the same thing to each one of your points. Right? That's all, pretty much all you got to do with this Allen wrench. Alright, now that my swash plate is level, I put the head block back on and the washout arm assembly. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to level the washout arms. Now what I did to level out my washout arms is, there's where the little pork chop looking piece that comes from the swash plate up, where that ties in, where it goes across to the flybar control arm, and then the ball link, or the ball and the arm on that side. If you look, there's a little pin that goes through that pork chop right at the top of that washout arm, and there's a little piece that sticks out through the side. Now what you want to do is you want to kind of make it so that if you were to shoot a bullet straight through here, it would go through, exit, and go exactly straight through. So you want those exactly perfectly equal to each other. Now to do so, you might have to play around with it for a little bit. But what you're going to do is, you're going to pull off these flybar control arms here. You're going to pull off the flybar control arms, and you're going to lengthen and shorten. You could do one side and you'll see they'll change the other side, and you just got to keep going. But at the same time, you got to keep in mind that you need to keep that flybar cage level also with the washout arms and the swash plate. We'll go for these paddles later, but just concentrate on that flybar arm. If you get these perfectly lined up, and your flyby arm is crooked, what you're going to do is you're going to take the same amount out of one and apply it to the other. So if you take one turn out of this side, you're going to push one turn in, and that'll push the whole flybar cage arm like this. Another thing you want to know is if you can make both of these exactly equal, you probably will have a pretty level flybar cage up here. But they're not exactly designed the same. But 90% of the time, they will equal out. The little thread gapping here, the thread gapping will look exactly the same on each one of them. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to line up my washout block arms and center that up, and also I'm going to center up my flybar cage and have my swash plate, my flybar, or my washout arms, and my flybar cage all being level, and make some adjustments. And I'll be right back. One thing I forgot to mention is, like I was saying earlier, is finding the height of your swash plate that you want. What you want is, if you can see the little rods that come out of the, see, there you go. Now see the little rods that hold that washout block in line? At full down, you want those bars to be exactly level with the bottom of that washout block. The reason is that the servo arm, or the flybar control arm, will contact, I don't know if I can get it to go right, they'll contact it. So you don't want those to be there. As you can see, mine are. So to eliminate this, what you got to do is you got to go ahead and go back to mid-stick. You know, go ahead and bump your whole swash plate up, and you know, you got to play with everything. And you know, once you move your swash plate up, of course you got to redo your washout arms and your flybar cage. You know, you got to keep going at it until you get it so that when you're in full negative, that no bars pop out of the bottom of that washout block. And you'll see that when you're at mid stick, the bars will kind of be halfway through, or well, I can't say halfway, probably 3/4 of the way already through it mid stick. And at full positive, you know, you want at least, you know, 1/4 of the bars still left contacting you know, the washout block. That way the washout block doesn't release from there and start spinning. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and adjust for that, and I'll be right back. What I ended up doing was I lowered my swash plate about 2 turns, and when I lowered my swash plate 2 turns, I found out that I also had to almost do these 2 turns. I had to do a little bit of fine tuning, but I lowered everything so that now I have, at full negative, I have barely any of them little prongs showing, and at full positive I still have you know, a little more than 1/4 of the block still within those pins. And then at mid stick, I'm probably a little more than halfway, maybe 2/3 of the way through at mid stick. Alright, so everything is now level with me, and my swash plate's level. My washout arms are now level and even with each other, and my flybar cage is now even with everything else. Now we're going to go on to making the blade 0 pitch, to go with everything at mid stick to be absolutely 0. I'm going to go ahead and install my blades, and go right back, and then we'll go over on setting your blades to 0 pitch. Alright, well, see you in a minute. Now I got my blades installed. We're going to go over setting 0 pitch in the blades. You know, make sure that your controller, you know, you're still at mid stick, and let's go ahead and set up for center. Now what you're going to do is you're going to get your pitch gauge, you're going to put it on 0, go ahead and slide it on. I prefer putting my pitch gauge about 2/3 of the way, or you know, 1/3 into the blade. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your pitch gauge, and you're going to align the top of your pitch gauge here with your flybar being level. Some people make up contraptions to level your flybar for you. As you can see, mine is off. All you're going to do is just going to adjust the pitch link over here on the sides, which is the long one that goes from the swash plate up to the bell hiller mixers. And since these control the tail end of the blades, you know, so keep in mind that when you shorten it, that means you're adding positive pitch, and when you lengthen it, you're adding negative pitch to the blade. So adjust accordingly, and 0 pitch your blades at mid stick. I'm going to make that adjustment, and I'll be right back.